Welcome to the stream. My name is Lee. Actually, you know what we're gonna do? So, um, hi. Uh, yes, I'm going to, fuck, no, I can't. Shoot, hang on. Here's what we're gonna do. Let me go to here. Alright, beautiful. Okay, so, for those of you who don't know me, hi, my name is Lee. Zero viewers, so no one's seen that. Okay, well, my name is still Lee. And if you're watching, someone's gonna watch on VOD. Oh, I have one viewer. That might be me. I don't know what it does. It might be some sort of automatic thing. I don't know. Someone who has me automatically on their channel, which is very nice of them, by the way, if they do. But um, yeah. Yesterday it snowed a lot, and apparently it's quite cold. And yeah, I can see out the window from behind the screen. But what was I gonna say? Hi and welcome to the stream. So today is a day, and I am tired today for reasons that are apparently clear. Oh, one more thing I will do. Um, uh, so I got to talk to Duck Print Press, which was at um, um, okay. Um, yep. So um, um, okay. 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 Shop Duck Print Press. Okay, let's do it. Um, so for those of you who don't know, Duck Print Press is a small press that I find very interesting. I buy a lot of their books. Their approach has pros and cons, I will say, but it does really, and they do have some really good books. The tagging system, I'm less certain on it. I expect books to be more informally tagged. Like, yes, if you have graphic scenes, and you should absolutely like mention that on the back cover or the summary. But usually, I don't know, what's expected is more informal language. So you kind of know what you're getting into if it's going to be dark or there's going to be certain things. Um, and yes, that does help if they specifically trigger, especially stuff that kind of might be a little spoilery to put in the front or is not relatively minor but kind of feeds into the overall thing. Maybe, but I think tagging, like, it's one thing for triggers. Like, I mean, a good author can absolutely write up a summary that does, at the very least, most of the common triggers and kind of filter through people who don't want to read dark stuff and are likely to be triggered by it. That's a skilled author can do that, and in like written summary form to put on the back of the book as a blurb. Now, whether or not they do is another matter, and I think that is very important to do as an author if you because you don't want your book to traumatize people. Yes, people can stop reading it every time, and fiction isn't reality, but it's still a nice to give people a heads up. Hey, if you were a victim of, say, sexual assault, this is deals very heavily with that, and if you are easily, triggered or it brings flashbacks, don't read this. Just don't. Like that's, sorry, we are going way off the rails on this. Especially because hypothetically it's supposed to be a tabletop RPG stream. But oh, right. So, how about this? Because we're getting down into the weeds time wise. I try to get an actual thing like we're actually gonna do more fully. I guess we can go back to Gorman's Guides to Gastromancy. But, oh, what I was going to do was go to here. Scholarly Pursuits. So, if you recall correctly, if you might recall, we did an unboxing video recently, and what I unboxed was a copy of Scholarly Pursuits, which is a newest anthology from Duck Print Press. Not the newest, but a fairly new anthology from Duck Print Press. which I should have the copy right here because I would just saw it a few. Here it is. Haha. It was on top. On top, on top. I have a lot of all the stuff I unboxed recently. I should really dust even better than that. But here. Ta-da. This is the one I was talking about. It's called Scholarly Pursuits. We talked about. Ooh, there's the stickers. I forgot I got bat stickers. But we went through and uh, we went. I think it was Scholarly Pursuits. We unboxed it. Um. Oh right. And then we went and looked at the authors and some of the stuff. We did some of that, and I am putting a link up on the Discord, which I will link to. I guess we could do another reading. Then I would have to change it to writing and reading. Discord. Okay. Check the Discord server. That is where I will start putting all of my stuffs. What am I going to do? Link stuff seen on stream. Okay, then we're going to have an ad break. Then I'm going to pull. What we're going to do is I'm going to pull up something random from my TTRPG file. It's going to be completely random. I don't know what it is yet because I haven't looked in it yet. And then we're going to do that. I think that's it. I think it's a random day. Maybe I'll find a bunch, put together a list, and do a random draw. We'll see. Okay. Oh, boy. All right. Boy, let me stretch. Okay, hang on. Okay. Mm-hmm. Um. All right. I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, we're back. Hang on. The thingamabob's back. Okay. Hi everyone, and welcome back. My name is still Lee. I have a bit more water in my glass, which you should have as well because hydrate or dihydrate, as we all know. I also have a. No, I don't have a snack. Forgot to do that part. Anyway, my head's being weird today. Like I have a headache. I had a headache really bad last night, and then today also. But I said we were gonna find something random. So let's find something. Let's do this. Let me go to downloads. And so what do I like to? Oh, I have three things. I have new ones from the swamp. So for those of you who don't know, I've been trying. Part of what I've tried to do, I've been trying to do, is an ongoing project, which is less. Um, has been less is organize some of my my um TTRPG files. Oh, apparently they go in there. Cool. So uh um basically I have a bunch of stuff I've downloaded. And I try to figure out what to do about that. Like Planeswalker. Okay, Planeswalker Handbook. Oh, this is TSR. This is an old school one that I from TSR, which I have a copy of through completely legal means. I am sure. Yes, I remember. I remember exactly that. So let's. I'm gonna put this on here. I'm gonna put it in my there. Oh, right. So fun story. I can't actually do that. I wonder if does it. No, it doesn't open automatically. Oh yeah, I do. I have it open. Haha. So I have a setup sometimes where you can see PDFs I open, and I can. Part of the way my streaming works, a little behind the scenes thing, is that I can have it set to display any PDF I have open. Happen to have open on my computer so that you can see it and I can see it and I can talk about it. Or I can do hide it so that you cannot see the PDF, but I can. Or minus it down so that I can't see it and you can't see it, but it's technically open. There's different methods. And I didn't know if the OBS part, that's more of a secondary, but I didn't know if the OBS that lets you see any PDF I have was working, and it is. But if I minus it out so that I can focus on the OBS part, you can't see it, which is frustrating. But what I need to do is this. Now you're asking why would I take the PDF away if we're going to talk about it, because I think it's kind of cool. We should talk about it. Reason is so I can do that. Basically, I can't move the file around, and what I want to do by moving the file around is put it in my other TTRPG stuff. Let's put it in that. So I have a file called other TTRPG stuff, which I'm slowly but surely trying to accrue all of the TTRPG stuff I have into that file. There we go. Now I can open it up again. So that instead of the downloads file, so that I can actually find stuff better, because the others, it in download I have one, I have one that's EPUBs, definitely ebooks that are in PDF form, and one for stuff specifically from the swamp, which I've been doing, and one from Quill's Tiny Quest / Blue, like it's one group, and they publish under two things, and they have the all of they have this the setting, which is the blue ocean, I think it is. It's let me they have like ocean races, they have like this archipelago, they have different, you know um they have this whole setting they have, and I've been bits and bobs, because they do it in essentially €1 things where you pledge €1. They build a little something like a character, like a couple of character races, a couple of like subclasses and something, and they package it up in a nice little. Everyone pays in €1, and then they raise plenty of money because everyone wants. It's a low buy-in, so lots of people buy in, and then you can get the PDF copy of it, and you can pledge more for bonuses, and they'll say, oh, well, we have bonus content, so if you pledge €2 and we unlock stretch goals, you get all of those. They have different things, and so you can also say, hey, I missed one of them, and you can add that on for another. It's a way to do it. That's how they do their fundraising project, and it works really well. And so now, because that's actually a really cool idea, I like it. So I've been backing a lot of their stuff because it's a low buy-in and I am broke, but it's cool and I want to support it. This is basically how behind the scenes. Oh, this has nothing to do with Planeswalker, by the way, which was published by TSR in. Oh, we can actually check the date. I don't know for sure, but apparently Monty Cook did most of the work on it, and Mike Carter's art developer. And hang on, color plates, interior artist, cover artist, Rob Ruppel, who did this cool little painting here. I like to shout out cover artists because art is, this is, especially in the age where you can just do AI art, the people who do manually do are like the backbone of, they're cool people and they deserve credit for their work. And I think that's the biggest beef, because I've wavered on my stance on LLMs, art producing LLMs, which and I think mostly is they screw over artists. I think that's the big one. Like there's artistic merit and the devaluing of creativity and all that, but really they screw over artists, and it's not real. Yeah, that it basically is screw over artists who are trained, skilled, and do better work than LLM ever could, even if they get good. And it's not necessarily just that it's devoid of soul of how real art works, but you're taking away the imperative of people to find workarounds and do art anyway. And there are plenty of programs that let people do art that isn't theft, essentially. Like Pictcruise that people put up voluntarily and get credit for, and Blender, which lets you do assets, but people get paid a couple cents for every asset that they sell, so they're compensated, and it allows you freedom to work and adjust things in a way that an LLM never could. And I think it's really cool to have those tools to get a sense as an artist. Anyway, point being, what was I gonna say? Uh, I had a whole point about that. Oh, right. So a big part of LLMs is not necessarily that it's devoid artistically. Like, yeah, that sucks. But for a professional grade, it's shitty and steals from artists. But B, it devalues artists essentially. And so I always try to give credit if someone draws some, if it's a real human artist who put their time and effort into this. I try to give them credit where credit's due. Just I think even even outside the age of LLMs, art is hard. I can't do something like this, and people deserve credit for being able to do that. And as a fellow creative, I want to give people credit for stuff they create. Oh, right. So Planeswalker Handbook, TSR, now defunct company. They published it. Come on. No, they should have a copyright date. Uh, um, they usually put copyright dates in the credits. Oh, is it? No, it's not. It's actually scaled as PDF, which is very helpful. So there's two different ways PDF works. And by the way, if you have any questions or I'm being too, you can absolutely say, hey, you're going too fast. You're talking too sensibly. I know I go into. Um, yes, it has a UK. Oh, so it's the US address and UK address. Should have a copyright date somewhere on here. Table of contents, introduction. It does not list a copyright date. That's weird. Um, so let's see if it in the back cover. Um, oh, copyright 1996. Okay, see. Um, and originally, back when it was new, it was $23.95. Yeah, but this was copyright 1996. Okay, so the reason I have a copy is because someone was talking about how there were tiefling tables, and so they were talking about, hey, this is really cool. The Planewalker's Handbook, 1996. Back when TSR was still doing all this stuff, it is AD&D, I think. So basically, because I think Wizards took over when third edition came out, if I recall correctly. My history of is a little bit. I'm learning more because I didn't come in until fourth edition was coming out and Pathfinder first edition, and that was what all my friends were playing. So I played Pathfinder first edition with them, and I came in later and I didn't learn a lot of history other than people were very upset about fourth edition and it was not nearly as good as third. And there are people who like fourth edition, and I'm sure it has its merits. There are certain things like skill challenges, which, as written in fourth edition, from what I gather, are kind of janky, but they can be adapted into something that's actually kind of useful. It actually is, if you adapt them a little bit, it's very reminiscent of what I did for the for my finale for when I do definitely Wizard games at cons, which I'm not going to spoil it necessarily for you because there's a good chance that some of you come to conventions, and it would be very fun if you did come, especially GaryCon, which is coming up. I'm not running definitely. I don't know for sure whether I'm running definitely Wizards. I'm not scheduled to. I didn't get that event submission in time, but I am bringing all of the character stuff I have for it because it's very little. So I do my maps you on the spot drawing, which I probably shouldn't. I probably should. Definitely for Page next year, my goal, and for Gamehole Con, which I have to keep in mind on that. I'm going to do the maps um, manually. Um, yeah, my goal is do the maps manually so that I can. What's I going to say about maps and manual map use? Oh yes, do the maps ahead of time so that they look nicer, instead of just drawing them as we go, which I did. I did before at other cons. I would draw them as we go, and then for the second, when I do two sessions, what I'll do is bring the maps back out, having already been done for the last session, and then we put the little minis on them, and the little minis are really cute. I have cute little minis that I give people. I let people take them home too, because they're easy enough to make and not particularly expensive to put together. So I little props, and it helps people remember, and they're cute, and people love them, and it's great. People are always like, "Oh, these are so cute." They love it. It's as a DM, I'm very proud of that. Oh yeah, so if you're going to GaryCon and you happen to be around, I'm thinking Saturday morning. I have one that a friend of mine is running that I really wanted to get into, so I put myself on the wait list and didn't schedule anything there. But if it turns out I can't, then essentially I'm just gonna have to um, do that. Um, Run it. I think I'm gonna run it then with everyone else who can't get in. So, but we got very distracted. We are getting exceptionally distracted by a lot of things. I Funny stuff. Okay, so Planeswalker Handbook. Yes, someone was talking about this earlier. I could link, I think, if I found out who was talking about this, but someone was talking about tieflings. Probably should link them too, because of you want to link your inspirations, but it encouraged me to get a copy, and I did. And then let's see. So, Abyss, Rivers, Mountains, Inner Planes, Astral, Ethereal. Let's see, 80, right? So page 80. She said page 80-ish. Tieflings, 78. And let's go to page 78. Let's do this. This is one of the benefits of PDFs, which is not always 77, 78. Okay. Tiefling, here we go. Because they were talking about how tieflings in 5e are kind of boring and that they could be way cooler. And I think a lot of people do use outside things for tiefling. I know that in Pathfinder, at least in first edition, tieflings have a different life expectancy than humans, which I think is interesting, and they can come from other species other than humans, which I appreciate a lot. Like they do gnome and halfling. Now, they then they mentioned that in the video too. I'm gonna find this video because I want to share it with you. If I'm gonna do a frickin' what's I gonna say history? If I'm gonna do a um uh um um what was I gonna say? Um yes. Um yes. Okay. There's a lot of cool stuff that I wanted to, that I've seen on, but the one I'm looking for specifically is the one I um yes um 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 yes, that is uh um okay all right. um okay, so my point is, I will go keep looking for it, but my point is yes, my point on that is, I had a point on that, which was, oh yes, the tieflings. So I do tieflings, and if you guys get, I'm keeping an eye on chat just to see if people are getting fed up with this. But my point on all of this was tieflings are, oh right, so tieflings. So um uh yes, okay, okay, so my plan is, okay, yes, okay, here we go, this one,
Tieflings need to be.
this one, okay, by a creator by Accursed Penner. I'm going to link the thing in the chit chat and on my thing because I want to cite sources when I can. I talked to people like um, Down Keep Show, who is great, by the way, if you don't know Down Keep Show. And she's saying that it's very frustrating people crib off your work and don't credit you. And people that and credit you, there's some. It's interesting, like if people take inspiration from. It's really important that you cite your sources. So people can, that they get the secondary material benefit of people checking out their Kindle too, but also just as someone like, hey, these are my inspirations, because if you're banging off other people's work, you should absolutely share, where they're come from. It's general good practice. Um, for something specific, very specific like this, to cite your work. Um, Credit where credit's due. And I've talked to a lot of people. I was like, oh, I put my stuff up on your stuff up my stream, and I hope that's okay. And people will be like, oh, okay, just as long as you credit me. And I say I always credit people. If I remember to tell people I credit them and provide links, they're almost always super okay with it. And if they're not, I take it down. But uh, we got way off topic. But I did find something cool to stream about, so that's cool. Okay, so all the plane touched, none pr- uh, precipitate as much as precipitate as much fascination. Precipitate, huh? I've never used precipitate that used like that. As much fascination or as much fear as tieflings. Whereas Aasimar are obviously touched by a celestial spark, and Genasi have the potency of elemental running through their veins. Yeah, this is actually the original from what Genasi and Aasimar and Tiefling. In um, everything past this, I think, comes from this specifically. What I was going to say about Pathfinder is that they, first edition at least, allows them to come either from the Hells or the Abyss and kind of spread that out in a way that 5e doesn't, and is frustrating because the Hells and the Abyss are different. They have different vibes. They have different, obviously, things, and um, 5e and even yeah, 5e. I don't know about 4e. Like I said, I don't know much about it other than it was radically different in certain respects to either third edition or fifth edition, and that alienated a lot of people. There are some people who like it a lot. It's not the same thing. It's a very different vibe, and I'm not necessarily opposed to it per se. Okay. I personally don't think I would like it, and I know enough people who hate it that I'm against it. But like, I'm not gonna knock it. Like, if that's your vibe, okay, you have bad taste, but that's fine. You can do that. It's not inherently problematic or evil or anything. It's just the rules are meh. But skill challenges were a good thing. Okay, that's what I was explaining. If you adapt them just a little bit, they become very a fun little exercise, which a lot of DMs use to great effect. They're one of the few good things in fourth edition, from what I've heard. I personally like skill challenges as a DM. Like, okay, figure this out. But I also the way I've heard how they're presented in 4e is not great. But this one is from 2. This is before 4e. This is well before 4e, and is apparently a really good take on tieflings. Okay, let's get into this. So tieflings. What I was gonna say is I love tieflings personally, and I think they're interesting. So we'll poke at this. If we want to look at other stuff in here too, um, we can. But I this other was like very big on, hey, this is like, this was the coolest thing tieflings thing I've ever found, and they should be weirder. And I was like, okay. And I was like, yes, absolutely. When you can do so much fun things with tieflings, and yeah, it is fun to add a little bit of spice to it. I kind of like the um, Pathfinder rule where they have to be blood related somehow. So like ancestor was connected with demon. I also kind of like the negative charisma. Now in 5e they get a positive charisma modifier. In Pathfinder first edition, which it did negative stat modifiers, they get a negative charisma, but for casting infernal or abyssal bloodline spells, they get, because sorcery is based on charisma casting, they get the charisma. They get to cast as if they had a charisma of 2 times higher. So you get um, it knocks your charisma in terms of social skills, but not in terms of casting as a sorcerer if you have the same bloodline, which I think is kind of cool. I think that makes sense logically. Anyway, that's me babbling. Of all the plane touched, none precipitate as much fascination or as much fear as tieflings. Whereas Aasimar are obviously touched by celestial spark and Genasi have the potency of the elements running through their veins, tieflings are enshrouded with mysteries of an unnamed heritage. Obviously, humans and something else crossbreeds. The something else in the tieflings case, um, usually assumed to be lower planar. That stigma follows all tieflings through their lives. Loners by nature, they make their own paths out of necessity. No tiefling culture exists to aid the outcasts, since no two tieflings are alike. As distinctive from humans as they are from each other, tieflings tend to be wary and distrustful due to the reactions they come to expect from others. Tieflings take care of themselves, for they learn early that no one will take care of them. Um, the other thing about tieflings is that it's interesting because this one says human, but Pathfinder uh, first edition, which is what I I guess I don't want to say grow up playing, but when I started with Pathfinder First Edition, it has a special place in my heart. It does say that tieflings can come from any lineage, any humanoid lineage, humanoid in the 5e sense, and not in the older sense where it makes orcs and goblins, which is an interesting change in the nomenclature. It used to be demi-human meant elves, dwarves, halflings, gnomes, etc., and then humanoid was orcs and goblins. In 5th edition, humanoid is just um, humans, humans, but also gnomes, elves, dwarves, etc. And then humanoid is goblins. No, goblinoid is orcs and goblins, bugbears, et al. Sorry, and nomenclature change between the editions, which I think you know. So it kind of still throws me off when people say human. I'm learning because I play with nowadays with Castles and Crusades with a lot of old school players. When the humanoid, I'm like, oh, okay, they mean the goblin orc, etc. one. But for I still think humanoid is kind of demi-human. There's different ways of putting it. I think there should be an overarching class that includes both humans and what used to be called demi-humans as a better comparison. I think it would make more sense and not be so human centric, but you'd have to find another name. And okay. Anyway, we are getting way off topic. A lot. Tieflings are a whole other thing. Okay, rather than withdraw into individual hermitages, tieflings challenge the multiverse with everything in their independent spirits. Determined to create their own fates, they dare things others might not even dream of and defy anything that stands in their way. Tieflings gain a +1 bonus to intelligence and charisma. Okay, so they do get a charisma bonus, unlike in Pathfinder First Edition. This is the mechanical nitty gritty that's actually kind of interesting and it have implications on world building, which I find fascinating. Um, and I think it's really cool. Yeah, sorry, we're getting into the weeds here, but I like it, and that's what we do. We poke at it a little. That's what I do. I poke at stuff. Um, yeah. We don't have anyone in chat right now. Fun fact: we have 2 people watching allegedly, and no one in chat because I know a lot of people don't have Twitch full accounts because they don't want to verify their email with that, which makes sense. But still like to watch me, which I appreciate a lot. Shout out to all of them. Hi. Um, but you know, so can't do chat, but can watch, which helps a lot. Um, reminds me of something. I'm only on for well, we can have another 20 minutes at least. Let's see. So they get a +1 to intelligence, charisma, and -1 to strength and wisdom. So it's +2, -2. Okay, this is slightly different. So they get a net 0. Usually, even in Pathfinder First Edition, when they had negative stat bonus things, it was always more positive than negatives. You just got them to different ones. Like you get a minus strength, but a plus con and plus dex, or something like that. Um, so depending on, of course, your species. Okay, but my point. Um, sorry, I meant to text my friend. He kept saying, "Text me whenever you're on live," and I forget to. So, let's see. So this one gets +2, -2, +2 intelligence, charisma, -2 strength and wisdom. Interesting choice. Okay, they may be of any alignment but lawful good. Also interesting. On Twitch. Okay, any alignment but lawful good. Um, Mysterious Heritage grants them several gifts, including infravision up to 60-foot range and the ability to cast darkness 15-foot radius once per day. So they have dark vision. Um, infravision, that implies heavily it's based on heat, which means magical darkness wouldn't change that. So that's interesting. Okay, keep that in mind. They also have the different theories of that. Suffer half damage from cold based attacks, and so half damage. They have resistance to cold, not to heat. Interesting. So, tieflings in 5e fire damage, obviously invoking the hells, but these ones have resistance to cold damage. I think in Pathfinder, it depended on whether only Infernals got the heat resistance. I think Abyssal might have gotten cold resistance, which makes sense in some ways. Charismatic Canine, hi. So, friend, hello, welcome on in. I haven't seen you in a while. pop in sometimes. It's always good to see you. Hi, welcome. I got a book, got my hands on a copy of this one, which is from 1996, Planewalker's Handbook. Someone who I did link in the chat um, made a video about it on YouTube, and I got a copy of the book, and I've been reading about tieflings because it sounded interesting, and I happened to see it when I was going through, hey, what random TTRPG resources? Hey! That means you're roughly my age, because 1996, I was born just before then. Ugh. And now I'm feeling old. But yes. Yeah, it's from 30 years ago. But it's interesting to see how the game has evolved, and so yeah, this is, I think, AD&D, and yeah, although a lot of the people I hang out with are in their 50s and 60s now, and are just like, you are a poor baby, and I'm like, okay, but cheers. Yeah, or even older, actually. Now that I think about it, because the Filk community. But what was I going to say? Oh yes, so this is fun stuff. So they had tieflings, and this one, it's interesting. I'm just kind of poking at what they did for tieflings back then, because the there was a, oh, fun, you got a new one as well. I do enjoy TTRPG books. I have too many though. I get one, I'm like, oh, it's really cool. I'll put it. I'm gonna download it, and then I will put it in, like, if it comes from Kickstarter or something, or it just looks interesting, like a copy, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll put it in. I'll look at it later, and then later never happens. So I have. That's why I started on this entire stream. Like, a large chunk of my stream is now, hey, this is a TTRPG book I got my hands on that sounded fun at the time, and now I want to actually, like, poke at it and share it with everyone, because sharing with everyone is fun and lights fire under my ass to do it. But yeah, that's fun. You got a new one. Oh, right. So this one is, they get, let's see, infravision and the ability to cast darkness, which is another thing tieflings get in Pathfinder First Edition. Half damage from cold, not fire based, cold based. So it's resistance to cold damage, not fire damage. +2 bonus saves. Oh, so it's a +2 on saves versus fire, electricity, and poison, but resistance to cold damage. That's interesting. It's a different. Huh. May become fighters, rangers, wizards, and specialist priests, thieves, or bards. They may also be multi-classed fighter wizards, fighter priests, fighter thieves, wizard thieves, and priest thieves. Oh, yes, that was the other thing, is that Eldritch Escape Tokyo. Ooh, that sounds fun. Um, yeah, Eldritch horror games are always fun. And, yeah. Japan, that sounds fun, actually. Um, yeah, I bet it's cool. I don't know that specific one, but it does sound cool. So yeah, this is interesting. Oh yeah, because in older editions, what class you played and what species/race you were, was, it determined what classes you could and couldn't play, which I always found frustrating. Especially, like, oh, you can only have this many levels in this class, or this many levels. It's just like, what? I always found that frustrating and annoying. But some people were big on it. It does. Um, I mean, it, different. If you're gonna say that these people are, different enough that they're different species, I think that's worth something. But I think limiting classes just feels kind of dumb, especially the priest thing, because that's heavily implies that the gods only grant power to certain races, which is kind of like iffy. I don't. I mean, certain deities, sure, maybe, but there's no deities that will grant power to, that will grant any power to certain, especially because every race has its own deity. So the deity specific to that race would not grant a priest to, would only grant so much power to that priest, is kind of dumb. At least that's my opinion. I don't know. But yeah, that's so that's but that's what classes you can play as tieflings. Okay, options. So this is where it gets interesting. Because they vary backgrounds, it's possible, even likely, that not all tieflings possess the same innate powers and appearances. Although they all have the infravision, they all have the 60 feet of infravision. Because of this, tables on page 80 were created to add variety to tieflings and should be used at time of character creation. So this is what they're saying. These roll Tiefling's ability table 5 times and use those results in place of standard darkness 15-foot radius ability and resistance to cold, fire, electricity, and poison. Note, however, that all of these abilities occur on the table. Oh, so you can either take the standard or you can roll on the tables and you might get goodness knows what, but you might get that. To randomly generate special physical characteristics, roll on the table Tiefling appearance, d4 times for each of the newly created Tiefling player characters. Ooh. So you roll to see how many times you roll on the table. That's fun. You don't know who your ancestors were, and you don't care. So what if somewhere in your family's distant past one of them was a fiend or other such being? So what if you don't look entirely human? You can do what you want. You're not limited by those who came by her before you. A body shouldn't be defined by her family, but by her deeds. That's your take anyway, which is interesting. Um, oh, fun. So it's a one shot. So it's a two-person one shot. Huh. Interesting. I've done what stuff that is like specifically one shot where you just have to take the boss. But I've never heard of one that was specifically for a single player and a DM before. Two players cooperatively sometimes, but single player DM actually that is not necessarily true. I wrote one that was supposed to be single player and DM or do it yourself, but that was uh, that was a small module with it was a story module with a couple mechanics attached, and yeah, it was supposed to be a very crunchy system. I never got around to the rest of the system, but it's still up there. But yeah, that does sound interesting. Um, so just a boss rush game. Okay, it's just like one big boss fight, and it sounds fun actually. Okay, don't know who your ancestors were. Now that's an interesting one because I feel like you'd at least know who your parents were and what, but you don't know what distant family tree ended up with the demon. Although I feel like depending on the family, that might be known information. It depends on the family, and I put a pin in that. But okay, um, by her family, by her deeds. That's your take anyway, which makes sense if you know. It's obvious that everyone respects great wealth, great power, and great authority. Influence runs the planes. Those in control rule the cities, the societies, everything. The key to the multiverse is either to be a power, and that's not possible for you, or to gain power, whether by wealth or hidden secrets or magic. That's true. If you're born into power, you're probably. Well, I guess it depends on exact world building, but yeah, generally in most places, tieflings are shunted to the side or denied inheritance rights, etc., if they come in family lines, which means you're out of luck. If even if you come from a powerful family, they're probably going to ditch you, or at least you don't get proper share of the power. But you can gain power, um, whether by wealth or hidden secrets or magic. The multiverse is full of opportunity, and no one's better suited to grab the brass ring than you, a literal child of the plains. Okay, so it's a fun little tiefling with the goat legs and another tiefling with horns, and this one's a fun piece of artwork. I don't know. That might be an artist's signature, but I can't read it. There's a bunch of artists listed as interior artists. That's because most source books they say, oh, these are the interior artists, these guys who did the art for the rest of the book, and then don't specify piece by piece. That's one of the things I liked about Arcana is that they did specify each piece of art, which where it was from. Tiefling tables. So you get d4 times on. Okay, so you get 5. Let's see. What do you get? Let's see. 5 times on the Tiefling ability table, which is 100. So get that. So you get Blur, Charm Person, Chill Touch. So once per day spells. Comprehend language once per day. That's useful. Darkness once per day. Detect good and evil twice per day. Detect magic 3 times per day. Interesting. I think it's probably the lower level the spell, the more you get it, possibly. ESP once per day. Invisibility twice per week. Now that's interesting. No alignment once per day. Mirror image, misdirection, pyrotechnics 3 times a week. Okay. Tech magic is 3 times a day. Pyrotechnics is 3 times a week. So there's various levels too, which suggestion once a week. It's an interesting. Summon swarm once per week. Vampiric touch only once a week. Whispering wind per day. Half damage from fire, half damage from cold, half damage from electricity. So it is what you get half damage to depends on completely random, which I think is kind of cool. Now, it is, I would argue, for Pathfinder and the old Pathfinder system, which that what your heritage was. Like you'd pick a specific heritage and say, well, this heritage gets this, which I think is an interesting way to do it as well. And I don't know if it's better than random, but I think it does, it kind of paves the way for role play in terms of, where you come from, which is a different kind of pave the role play for like F where you come from. I'm going to the future. I, there are different benefits and drawbacks to each, and it's interesting to, to say, okay, well, what you get is completely random versus what you get is based on your heritage, which you may or may not know about, but as a player, you get to pick. But it's, that's an interesting one. So you get +2 on saves versus fire, +2 on saves versus electricity, +2 on saves versus poison, +2 versus cold, +2 versus acid. These are saving throws. So half damage, you can take half damage and or saving throws, and they might be different. +2 is petrification, polymorph, and paralysis. That's an interesting one. Rods +2 saving throws. So a lot of older editions, what you would get is it whether what your save bonus was depended on not on your stats necessarily, but on but they might give you bonus. But what it depended on was whether it was a rod, a spell, petrification, polymorph, so spell effects, and rod staffs. Like whether a spell was just cast as a spell, whether it was like from rod or staff. It depended on what it was from, rather than what type of save, like Dex or rather than basing the save bonus on dexterity, constitution, or proficiency bonus. What it was based on was you get a set of them, like +2 against rods, +3 against magic spells, etc. Um, which I guess it would also depend on, you might get stat bonuses for certain saves, but the bonus, you would get a bonus based on where it came from, rather than a proficiency bonus, which I think is interesting. Let's see, roll twice, rerolling results above 95. Roll 3 times. So if you roll 99 or 100, you get extra, like you get more of these, which is interesting. Rerolling results above 95. Okay, so you basically anything you get, you don't get bonus. You don't get. There are certain things you can't get, including, if you roll twice, rerolling above 95 means you can't get, you can't recurse your way through to like 20. You get 5. So even if you roll 105 times, which is statistically so freaking unlikely, you still only get 15 of these at most, and that the statistic likelihood of that is ridiculous. Although not impossible as such, but I mean, I'm sure we could do calculating the odds. It's so if you 5 times in a row is 1 in 100 to roll 100. It's to roll 2 100s in a row is 100 times 100. And then to roll 3 100s in a row is 100 times 100 times 100. And then 4 in a row. Yeah, I think that is it. It would be so astronomically unlikely. Not impossible, but astronomically unlikely. Okay. Yeah, because it's the result. It's the odds of doing it the first time, times the odds of doing it the second time to do it twice in a row, times the odds of doing it the third time. It's because there's the branching paths and stuff. That's how you calculate it. So it is 100 times 100 to the third, essentially. 1 over 100 to the third times, which is 10,000, and then times 100 is 100,000 million, 10 million, 1 to the 10 millionth. No, wait, that's 1,000 times 1 to the 1 millionth. Yeah, because 10,000 is 1 to 10,000. 100,000 is 1 to the millionth. Might be 10 million. It's 1 in a million bare minimum. Anyway, to roll 3 of them, let alone 5. But that's not 0. So yeah, but the most you're ever going to get is 15 because you can't get recursive on the rerolls, essentially. Anyway, that was math tangent. Yay, math tangents. Let's see. So you get appearances, and you roll. So for appearance, you roll. Okay, so hang on. Tiefling options. 5 times abilities, so you take 5 times. It results in place of the. Note, however, that all of these abilities occur on the table. So Oh, those are just five. Yeah, because the darkness 15-foot radiance, resistance to cold, fire, electricity, and poison. That's five. So you could roll that particular set of five. Um, D4 times for each newly created tiefling player. So you're rolling 1d4 times on this table. Side effects. Oh, special side effect roll. So, oh yeah, so 88 plus 89, you roll on the side effect, special side effect. So basically, if you roll 88 or 89, you get to roll on this one, the side effect. Um, which is, ooh, interesting. So that's way less likely, but still possible. Okay, so what do we got? Small horns on the forehead or temples. So yeah, the small horns, because most tieflings in 5e automatically have horns, and they're often very very large. The different shapes and stuff. Long thin face, fangs. All teeth are pointed, so either have fangs or all your teeth are pointy. Forked tongue, pointed ears, fan-like ears, huh? Long nose, very small, almost unnoticeable nose. So Voldemort, if you follow certain works by certain players, which is a thing that people there is, I think, a human mutation that people in our world have that does that. It's very rare, but I remember there was a whole project on facial differences like um, either scarring or um, uh, conditions and stuff that cause facial specific face very noticeable facial issues that people got a lot of grief for, and discrimination based on that, which is fair. Um, that is the thing. But one of them was that Slayton, and it is that the most noticeable character is like the big bad guy in a a well known franchise, and was like the big bad was so evil people wouldn't even say his name, and that's the kind of thing people think of when they see your face and the fact that your nose is that small, which is interesting. Anyway, so yes, that is a thing, but I think a lot of these are well, if you look at the sheer volume of weird little genetic quirks, you do find a lot of stuff that's, well, really weird because truth is stranger than fiction. Black eyes, no whites, feline eyes, extremely deep set eyes, green hair, blue hair, multicolored hair, 6 fingers, including thumb, 3 fingers, including thumb. That is also a thing. Actually, Quincy from Quincy's Tavern has the fewer fingers thing. But he's cool though, and you actually should go check out Quincy's Tavern. Side note is on YouTube and Twitch is just like the chillest, most welcoming, coolest person you know. His stuff is very funny. Okay, black fingernails, red fingernails, fingers 1 inch longer than normal. Huh, exceptionally long fingers. Arms 6 inches longer than normal, having exceptionally disproportionately long arms. Uh, arm normal being the usual proportions you get, standard baseline proportions, where in your arms, the length of 2 of your arms is the length of your height. It always comes within a few inches of each other, but I guess if you have this, they're longer than usual. They do, that is a thing that happens also. Sorry, we're getting a little bit sidetracked, but that is also a thing that happens to humans in our reality, I guess. Like occasionally, I mean, if you look at Michael Phelps, they talked about that, how his torso was shorter than his arms proportionally, so his proportions were kind of janky, and that actually helped him swim better. Fun fact. Um, but yeah, it is a thing that happens. Uh, Legs 6 inches longer than normal, disproportionately long legs. Horse-like legs, goat-like legs. The cloven hoof devil with the goat legs. Interesting. They do horse-like and goat-like differently. Goat hooves are separate than goat legs. That is interesting. So that would be like fairly regular legs, but with goat hooves as opposed to like the whole curve, whole leg. It's just the hooves. I guess it's the way the knee joint and ankle joints are the main difference. Um, like the way the joints sit are different for goat legs, like satyrs and stuff that have the, and then the human. But then this one you have the same limb arrangement as humans. It's just at the very bottom where the feet come that are different. Um, Long thin tail, horse like tail, lizard like. I wonder if you get lizard like tail, can you do the thing lizards can do where you can drop it in times of trouble and just like regrow? Because that's a thing certain species of lizards can do. They just drop their tails because Tracer's during infection. This is a thing lizards can do. They can drop their tail, or if someone bites their tail, they can just drop it and run, and then they just have a tail. Sometimes they do it to attract prey. Sometimes do it to escape predators, and it's a thing. It's not every species, but there's enough of them that it's a noticeable pattern. I wonder if you have lizard-like tail, can you do that? Because that would be cool. Anyway, spiny ridge on back, spiny ridges all over body, hairless body. There's also a genetic genetic quirk, I should say, is the right word. I think it's called. It's technically. I don't know what the term is because condition implies that it's um, like a medical, like it actually causes active harm. But a lot of these are just like port Weinstein or something, or the hairlessness thing. There's a technical term for it. But those don't actually cause any real harm. They're just different. Yeah. Um, a skink. Yes, that is a type of reptile that does lose its tail. That's one of those. Yeah, which apparently you can keep as pets. But yeah, it lost tail 3 times. Yeah, they do that, and then it regrows, which is kind of cool. Body covered in short fur or long hair. Striped markings. Actually, there is a humans do have stripes, or they have skin that is of right that has differentials, but because of the way human eyes perceive pigments, in 99% they're invisible. You can't see that. But under certain light characteristics, or humans have stripes. It's actually a thing. Um, yeah, that's a thing. Humans have stripes, but because of the way the pigments work, you can't see them. They're like the way light perception works. They're unnoticeable to other humans. But if you there are species that perceive light in certain ways, or you can that you can show up as having stripes, and it's weird. It's a thing humans have that you just can't see, which is interesting. Let's see. Extremely greasy skin, scaly skin, leathery skin, small feathers rather than hair on 10 to 100% of body. Ooh, feathers instead of body hair. That would be kind of interesting. Green tinted skin, blue tinted skin, red tinted skin. The blue tinted skin thing is there is actually a incredibly rare that's associated with incest because of how it's a recessive and those are more common. But yeah, there is a rare one that, and I think silver poisoning can do that too. Um, yeah, green tinted skin, red tinted skin. Special side effect. Roll on the table below. That's this one over here. Below is over to the side, but roll twice, re-rolling above 89. Um, so it's the same thing as here, where you can have more, but you can only have roll 3 times, re-rolling above 89. Same thing where you're not going to get more than 15, because even if you get exceptionally, you're not getting any recursives. Which, you know. So this fight effects one, which there's a 2% chance you'd get any of these. Um, so it's 1 of 50. So if it's like 91, for example, that's a 1 in 50 times 1 in 5,000 chance you're getting any of these. Or 1 in 2,500 if it's a. Oh, actually, for 2. But a lot of these are more than 2, so you get a higher chance. But so 1 to 10 is ashy odorous. Ashy odor surrounds body, which is 1 through 10. So that's 1 in 500 chance of getting that. I think the math because it's 1 in 50, 88, 90. So it's 1 in 50 and then 1 in 10. So yeah, 1 in 500 chance of that. Not impossible. Sulfurous odor surrounds the body. Rotting odor surrounds the body. Ooh, so like a pretty good chance. 1 in 20 of having weird, be smelling weird, essentially. 1 in 20 times. Or no, 20 out of 100 is 1 in 5. Yeah, it's 1/5. So that's 1/5 times 150 is 5 times 50 is 250. 1 in 250 chance of getting smelling bad, which kind of sucks. Skin exudes ashy grit. Body casts no shadow. No reflection in the mirror. That's a fun one. Susceptible to spells such as Spirit Rack or Coco Fiend. I don't know what that one is, but it probably is in this book somewhere. Alright. React toward Tiefling as though Bezetu. React toward as though Henry. Oh, that's two types of demons. They react to you as if you're the other type of demon. Which, unease in animals. That's a shame. Unease in NPCs. Reaction at -4. So you have a legitimate, like, mechanical disadvantage to, um, um, reacting with NPCs, which kind of sucks. Prolonged touch withers non-normal plants. Ooh, brown thumb. Fingers are treated as claws. So you have claws at D4 or D3 damage. I guess that depends on whether you're small or medium. Touch inflicts 1 point of damage to high body heat. Ooh. Due to cold body temperature. So your body is so much hotter or colder than a human's that you actually do damage when you touch people. That sucks, actually. Odd skin composition resides base A3 of D6 plus 1. Oh, D6 plus 3. Okay, so base AC. So this one is going in the negative AC. I'm guessing. So before, in the early days, what you would have is called Thaco. So you would have a 2-hit armor class 0, which, so that was kind of like an attack bonus. It would give you, if you had a Thaco of 10, that means anything that had an armor class of 0, you would need a 10. If they had an armor class of, say, 5, you would need a 5 to hit them. So basically, an average human had an armor class of 10. So even if you only had a Thaco of, and the lower your Thaco, the more better attack you were, and the lower your armor class, the better. So if you had a Thaco of 0, for example, and the other the thing you were attacking had armor class of 5, you would basically get, well, if you had a Thaco of 0, basically you would automatically hit if their armor class was anything higher than 0. So you would auto hit if on that case. But if you had a Thaco, say 20. So if you wanted to, you had to roll a nat 20 to hit anything with armor class of 0, and it has armor class of 5. That means you need to roll at least a 15 to hit. And so if they had an armor class of less than 5, you know, a lower armor class, if they had armor class of 0, you'd have to hit it. If they had armor class of negatives, you'd still have to roll the nat 20 because anything hits on a nat 20. But yeah, armor class of 1 it'd be 19, armor class of 2 18. The standard armor class of an unarmored peasant is 10. So at a Thaco of 20, you would need to have a 10 to hit something that was just basic unarmored human. If they were particularly slow, or they might have even higher than 10 or 11 or something. But generally, 10 was the highest it really went. Then you, or I mean, less for big things or slime bruises, like those have statistic, anything. 10 is an average. Um, uh, so having a higher than 10 AC would be like having a lower than 10 AC in modern 5e or adjacent. Anything that uses positive armor classes 5e, 3.5, Pathfinder, and such. That 10 is baseline either way, but having higher than 10 is the same as having lower than 10. Now, 0 is really good. For PC, if you start out at 10, getting to 0 is great. You can even go into the negatives, and negative armor class is really good. You want negatives. The highest state, like a 2 is even pretty hard to hit. Because you're only 2 more than whatever the Thaco is, which is, so if you think of, say, 10, they have to roll at least a 12 to hit you with an armor class of 2. If that makes sense. Anyway, point being, I was very proud of myself having figured out how to do Thaco. So, like, figured it out, and then it's like, oh, just check the table. It's like, no, I want to do the math because I like doing the math because I am so proud that I figured it out. But yeah, it is kind of, once you get used to it, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's just frustrating when you're not used to it because of that. Oh, so having an armor class of DC 6 plus 3, D6 plus 3 means that you have a 9 being bare naked, as opposed to a 10. But if you roll lower on the d6, you'd have even less. So you might have an armor class of 4, which is, for bare nothing without any armor, is really good. Like, that's pretty good. I mean, you're probably going to have, like, I think average is 4 average, so average of 7, which is still pretty good. I mean, with no armor or anything, you throw in some leather armor, it starts going down to 6, 5, that's... You're getting there, and then you full plate, you might get yourself down to 0, even without any magical enhancements. Yeah, sorry, I'm just babbling of how they... But yeah, so that's what that is. Um, sorry, holy water inflicts damage. That's a really small chance for holy water inflicting damage, given... Yeah, that's the 1 out of sterility, so that's, yeah, it's 1 in 5,000, essentially, for holy water inflicting damage, sterility, exposure to red sunlight. Oh, wow. So, vampire type. Okay. Cannot enter holy areas, which means consecrated ground. Harmed by magical, only by magical or silver arts. That's a good one. And then intuitively speaks the language of one fiendish race. I wonder if you have to roll randomly for which language you get, whether it's infernal or abyssal or I think those are the 2 big ones. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. Oh, they have tables. Ability requirements. That's another thing. Age. Tiefling 17. Humans 15. Okay, so. Variability of maximum age. Oh, right, so maximum age is basically how old can you get before you die of old age. Humans in this table is... Well, that gives you a baseline 90 plus 2d20. So 40, so 130, which is a little more than you'd get. I say with 2d10 might be a closer to, because very few people ever make it over 110. Or plus 10 plus d20. Plus 1d10 plus 1d20 might work. Because that would give you a max of 130. 90, yeah, 90 plus d10 plus d20 is 120, which is older than any human on our reality ever got. But people have gotten close. People have gotten close because the really, statistic, 90, most die of old age before 90. But, um, okay, we're gonna have an ad break. I realized. Okay, I'm gonna do some stretching. Ooh, yeah. Okay, okay. All right, I'm back. Hang on. Ooh. Whew. All right, I think that's that. Yes, that's the end of it. Yes. Okay, we're back. Hello. Oh. Yep. All right. Have a great stream. Have a good game. Bye. Thanks for dropping by. I really appreciate it. Um. Peace out. Yes. Always good to have friends. So this is interesting. So I was gonna say about humans. I'm probably gonna log off soon. Also end the stream soon as well because I have to go day job soon. And this is much later than I usually stream, but I got started later, so I figured, and then there was the ad break, and I was like, well, I don't want to rush the end. So I want to do a little bit past the ad break, but... So Tieflings started 15 instead of 17, because that's the other thing about Tieflings in 5e, is that they grow a lot slower than humans. Meaning being born into a human family is kind of awkward, because they're very noticeably aged at a very different rate. But, starting age base is variability. So humans is 15 plus a d4. So somewhere between 16 and 20. Somewhere between 16 and 19. So you start young. And half elves about the same. They don't specify for like dwarves or elves, or those are in other places. But essentially, uh, um, maximum age range. So this is the oldest you could possibly get before dying of old age, essentially, for maximum. And then human hit venerable at 90. So basically, by the time you're 90, you are fairly old. Old age, middle age, and you start getting nicked penalties at middle age. So at 45, you start getting reduced mobility. I think you get bonus wisdom though. So, oh yeah, here we go. It specifies. So you get -1 strength and con, but +1 int and wisdom. So you're smarter, but you're a little, you're starting to slow down. You're not in your prime anymore. And then old age is -2, but and -1 con. So you get basically at that point you're at -3 strength, -3 con, and -1 dex. Yeah, -3 strength, -2 dex, and -2 con, essentially. But you get +1 wisdom, and then would be at cumulatively +2 wisdom and +1 int. And then venerable, you get even more int and wisdom, but you also lose more dex and con. As you age, you lose the physical, but get better mentally. You've learned over your lifetime, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, that is kind of out in modern D&D. Although I think I would agree to bring it back, but so tieflings specifically. So tieflings hit that at 50 rather than 45. They hit the second at 67 rather than 60, and at 100 rather than 90. So their aging is like slightly off from humans. They mature, they get hit maturity about the same. So it's 15, 15, plus a d4, plus 2d4. So, oh no, 17. That's half elves, sorry. Tieflings, 17 plus 2d4, which is the same as d8. So they mature at a different rate, essentially. They age a little bit slower, just a little bit off, So the human comparison is just to say, okay, so this is human at 15 would be roughly the same as a tiefling at 17, so they're a little on the down edge of that. And of course, every individual is slightly different. In various always it's a whole individuals. There's a whole can of worms there, but yeah. So in um Pathfinder First Edition, tieflings don't hit adulthood until like 60. Up there with dwarves, and so they age very slowly. Even in their youth. I could talk about my model of how elves and stuff age, but I also have to do day job stuff, and I need food beforehand, and that requires time. And it'd be nice to have a little nap, but that's not happening. So, but yes, we went much later than I usually do. But I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me and being awesome. So, um, what else? Of course, my usual support. If you want to drop me, bits are nice. Subs are nice. If you want to go throw me a bit $2 on Ko-Fi, don't feel obligated. But if you're wondering, hey, I have a lot of extra money that I don't need because reasons I want to distribute it. I'm cool people. You can do that. Whatever you want to do. I have it open as a thing people can do, but I don't expect anything. Thank you all for coming. Even hanging out with me and watching means a lot. You know what I mean? Um, I get a little in ad revenue, but even if you have turbo, a few other ad blocks, I don't think so. But you know what? I don't even care because it's cool to have people just watching what you make. That means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. What was I gonna do? Oh yes, thank you all. Appreciate it. I think this is kind of cool. I'm glad I poked at it. Tomorrow's Greyhawk Day, so we're doing that, and then that we have, um, after Greyhawk Day we have, um, Thursdays. I don't know. We'll see what Thursday is, but maybe I'll put up another poll on the stream. We shall see. Yeah, I think maybe what I'll do is a poll. I think we could do another poll. I think that would be fun. So count on that. Unless I think of something I really need to do. But Wednesday is Greyhawk Day. Yeah, tomorrow's Greyhawk Day. Take care of yourselves. I say this every time, but I mean it. Hydrate, food, all the things. People, take care of yourselves. you know, flesh prisons suck, and you got to do the best you can with it, or you'll be miserable. So reminder on that. All right, we're rating. Who are we rating? Let's see. Steamy Streamer is off, I would presume, but ooh, Misadventures League. All right, we're going here. I don't know if Bard is on, but Bard is a good friend, and they are part of the Misadventure League. Like, it's a big one that has a lot of kind of like AOTT, where they have a lot of different people. So let's go see the Misadventures League. They're fun. We're gonna go see them. Come along, let's do it. Boom. And we're off. Let's do it. Let's do it. And okay, bye everyone.